Jill here with Sirius Dallas Moon. Now, with this moon hour, I'm kind of meditating. The moon is applying to oppose Mars, and this is where I'm thinking about the first week of May and meditating, really assessing the issue where the there is an issue of somebody winning or attempting to win by sexual degradation and humiliation. And there can even be a woman involved, whether she partook in that or not. Um, and that basically was, how should I say that? Think about a situation where somebody both creates a competition where there isn't and decides to play in a way that they are going to attack their imaginary opponent or their imaginary competitor by sexually degrading them, harassing them, and subjecting them to various forms of harassment, torture, and so on and so forth. It's kind of like that wasn't a person that was trying to, um, how should I say that? It was not even a competition. That person was not even an opponent. And even if they were, that's not kind of like there's something incredibly trafficky, Epsteiny about this entire situation that was supposed to establish somebody having a win. And this is something that I think is taking us to a certain sort of Pyrrhus win. Now, what confuses me here is Venus, because it can either be that a woman has participated in such degradation ritual of women, kind of like a Ghislaine Maxwell story, or that something was happening behind her back and she was the beneficiary of some sort of a Pyrrhus win in that regard. Now, something around the entire combination of the planets, the involvement of Lilith, the Venus Aldebaran, the Chiron Aries, Mercury Chiron Aries, the Mars in Aries Mars in Aries is motivated by sovereignty, and so rape does not achieve sovereignty. And the perpetual harassment, this looks to me like people that are affiliated with Epstein by their strategy. I saw a video about people looking into a child labor cult, um, and they were traveling to meet the leaders of the cult. Kind of like a take me to your leader, but in a very elegant and very profoundly eloquent way. And what happened to them is that the minute that they reached the area where there was the residence of the cult, they were, and it's not in United States, so Americans would not understand it like the European would. They were ushered to immediately leave, to immediately make a U-turn. Again, in American culture, that would be this is privat and so on. Um, in European culture, there would be a little bit, let's say, if they were coming to visit, they would either say maybe to reschedule or to have an appointment, but they would not just send people off and follow them to make sure they get out of the city. And I really hope I'm going to find this episode. Um, and this is, yeah, not something that I see right away. Um, But this is where they concluded from being not just told to walk away, but being tailed and stalked until they left the city, that whatever that group wasn't quite benevolent. This is something that happens here in the strategy. It's kind of like something was not even suspected in the beginning to be, let's say, Epstein, and the strategy that was used to deter people from even speaking, um, created a situation where the equivalent of trying to stalk people outside to make sure that they leave the city, minus them having actually a place to go to that they are safe from being targeted and harassed. And I'm kind of thinking, I was receiving detriment, kind of like, well, Saturn is in detriment. And so somebody being strict regarding somebody's sovereignty is making them sus, meaning they weren't even allowing a person to be, because that person was constantly harassed, constantly targeted, um, constantly humiliated, constantly degraded, constantly dark occult or tech occult or whatnot used against them. Um, with me being one of the people that resonate with being that targeted person, and again, because it's something that has Neptune in Aries, it resonates with a generation of individuals. So that is something that really kind of is kind of like a pressure cooker, where what did you think would come out of a person who is targeted in that way consistently? With, like, if you were expecting to break a person down, what, of course that when they are breaking down, the people that were trying to break them down are not going to like the result. Where there was literally no way to actually live one's life without being targeted and harassed, while that person was to begin with targeted, and that exposes a certain method of profiting off of harassing individuals, which I know I don't and never did. And the square with Jupiter in Cancer could be that some people may have even consciously or unconsciously built a nuclear family unit where there is an issue of the woman not being subjugated, agreeing with Mars here that squares Jupiter. Now, Mars here is agreeing with Lilith, meaning that the interruption of the nuclear family unit by Mars is the result of the attempt of that family unit to subjugate the woman. Now, this is an ongoing theme where, of course, when women's rights are being demoted, everything is going to continuously break down until women's rights are being restored. Because women's rights, human rights, particularly when the issue of human rights stem from feminization, degradation, ritual. And so the consistent attempt to erode women's rights and degrade the feminine is decomposing every single facet of society until women's rights are not being restored but being actually granted. And people can be frustrated. I know I am, but it kind of seemed like, of course, as long as there is erosion of women's rights, then we'll continue to see the composting of every single thing in society, every single thing in society, until there is actual women's rights per every individual in society, which is also human rights, because the erosion of human rights was degradation, feminization as degradation ritual. This also tells me that, and here is the thing, that Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, but there cannot be an exalted family nuclear unit when the woman is subjugated. And there is no current religion that is not subjugating the woman. If there is in the scripture, it's not in praxis. If it is in praxis, it's not in the scripture. So no family unit can expect to stay intact in this coming conjunction. And it might even be that it's not coming from the outside, but from the women saying, oh, F it, this issue that I'm dealing with, whether coming from prospective clients or colleagues or whatnot, is actually not a woman to woman issue, in as much as it's, oh, that woman is frustrated because she is the woman that would not be subjugated, and boy do I need to wake up. If it's like a woman in a nuclear family, boy do I need to wake up because what this woman is arguing for is touching exactly my sovereignty in the face of the the one world religion, the family nuclear unit, the laws, because Jupiter represents justice, Mars represents the law, where Libra represents the juristic procedure. So we can even think about Saturn present with Mars as a governance and laws, and this is where, and it can come as something that looks like, let's say if it's a family unit, something that looks like um, a third party. If it's a business, something that looks like a collegial fight. If it's um, and when I say third party, it doesn't mean that it's actually a third party. It means that there is a gaslight that this is a third party, where it's actually a person that has a long withstanding issue with being targeted, for example. And then particularly the woman here within the family unit, even the mother with Moon Lilith, has a crisis of reckoning that, wait a second, this argument is coming to assert sovereignty in the face of rape. I'm not arguing with that. Why is this conflict coming about? Oh, there are laws regarding the nuclear family. Wait a fucking second, they are going to ban divorce. Now, this is where a perfectly married couple that big picture are in kind of like in sickness and in health together, because this is what this Jupiter in Cancer denotes. It denotes of the nuclear family that is exalted, that is doing well, that is growing and loving, even that in the society that subjugates women by religion and by law cannot sustain. Okay, just to be able to say yes at every single intimate encounter with a man, married or not, is to be able to divorce, to be able to withdraw consent, to be able to separate by both people safely and sanely. Targeting individuals is forcing them into a non-consensual and unconsensual relation that they never asked for. Now, it can even be that there was some sort of a business related win that was swiping under the rug some Sedna Uranus issue. And that issue really, in the first week of May, really comes to a, I wouldn't say catharsis, because with catharsis we think about, let's say, an emotional overload that discharges. That's not the case. It's an actual issue. It's not an emotional baggage issue. It's not an, it's kind of like, it's also seeming to me that because Mars is at home sign, because Jupiter is exalted, because there's a reception between Jupiter and the moon, it genuinely is the woman that would not be subjugated. It's a genuine issue. It's not baggage masquerading as an issue. It's not. It's not even an issue of jealousy or even an issue of contempt. It's an actual what is right, what is true, what is just to sustain love that is actually loving. The rights of the individual, the woman that would not be subjugated, and her rights sustain the value of the nuclear family. Now, Venus Gemini opposing Lilith can be a telltale where the desire for the desire to agree actually creates something that is polarizing, some sort of statement, because Mercury in Taurus is kind of communicating to bridge the differences, but in doing so, there is a polarizing, very likely unintended, polarizing scene where somebody would have a certain sort of victory that can even be relational, but the aftermath. No, the victory is definitely a Pyrrhus win. And this is one of the moments where I can say, I don't know, like, you know, it's not something that I see how to prevent that from being a Pyrrhus win. More like to take into account that there's going to be a Pyrrhus win that unfortunately was something that was diligently worked at, not at being a Pyrrhus win, but at like the person who is having the win really worked hard for that, and um, but it's still there's a wound around the win anyway. Um, that can even be business related, where something is something is launched or people have a success in business and then they are invested in a, let's say, in a 401k that they can't yet withdraw or can't yet open, and then because of the window of opportunity issues they are invested in something like something that funnels into trafficking. Now there's definitely the ongoing issue of targeting of the people that spoke up against, whether it was the Me Too, whether it was the Epstein dossiers, um, and the collateral societal collapse that, on the one hand, yes, there was COVID and there was this war and that war and so on, and those were definitely orchestrated, but also the collateral collapse of the society that was supposed to have been supportive